5 right wingers, 0 left wingers and 0 strikers. What is going on at Chelsea Football Club?
I have absolutely no idea. And let me just start by saying I cannot believe that Mauricio Pochettino is not the manager taking Chelsea into this season. They were really poor in the first half of last season, mainly not really to do with him, to do with the fact that he had to compete with shoehorning about 1,000 different players in different positions. He managed to actually almost do that towards the end of the season. They went on a really good run. He'd got them playing their style of football, and then they sack him. I cannot understand what is going through the mind of Todd Bowley and the higher-ups at Chelsea. I don't understand how they've allowed themselves to get into this position. And then, without disrespect, because I haven't seen a huge amount of Leicester last year, but to hire a manager of that calibre who's not done it in the Premier League before, or who isn't a natural-born winner, or who actually Leicester last year dropped off towards the end when they had by far the best squad in the Championship, doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Add to that the complete scattergun approach to transfers, buying everyone and anyone, buying Brazilian teenagers for the 100 mil on 10-year contracts. It just doesn't make any sense, and I can't imagine that it's going to be able to come together as a cohesive unit anywhere near the start of the season, never mind towards the end of the season. So I'm not expecting big things from Chelsea, despite the quality that they have in players.
It's really difficult because you're trying to figure out what you're going to see on the pitch from Chelsea, but how can you do that when there's so much chaos off of the pitch? And that just draws your attention, doesn't it? Particularly as people that don't support the club. I mean, the Pochettino thing, I know often we hear managers leave by mutual consent and it's a way of dressing up a sacking in a nice way. But this really does feel like it was Pochettino's decision partly as well, because you look at what's going on in the background. He can't have agreed to this. From what we read, he was unhappy with some of the criticisms that were put his way by the Chelsea hierarchy and felt that he couldn't continue in that role anymore. But they're starting from zero again, because you're right, at the sort of halfway point of last season, we all looked at Pochettino and we thought, this is a real struggle for you. But over time, he started to get it right, and he got Chelsea to a point where they were competitive, they were playing good football. Their best player, Conor Gallagher, is probably not going to be a Chelsea player by the time we kick off the new season as well. So it's really difficult to know what you're going to get from them. Too many players, not enough good players, massive contracts that have hamstrung the club in terms of what they can do sort of with those players in the future. And there's just no plan, and that's the biggest problem.
I think that the issue on the pitch is Enzo Maresca is a manager who has a plan. And so if you're going to bring in someone like Pochettino, I really do feel Pochettino is the sort of guy that you chuck a load of puzzle pieces in front of him and he'll go, let me try and pull this together. From everything I've heard about Enzo Maresca, from the stuff I watched of Leicester last season, he very much so is like a Pep Guardiola disciple. Yeah. He wants everything in place. They want to play a certain way. They have a certain structure. I watched them in pre-season, 2 inverted fullbacks. That means Ben Chilwell needs to go and a few others. And so I go, so you bought in a gaffer with a plan, then you've made a lot of transfers, and are we going to end up back in this Graham Potter situation where the stories were going around about players don't fit in the changing room, and expect Enzo to be fine with that? Because Graham Potter wasn't that vocal. Enzo is a lot more vocal, and he'll say, I'm not happy.
I guess the one thing that might give Chelsea fans a little bit of positivity is the fact that, as you say, they've got a manager who has a plan. They also have 45, 46 players to pick from to fit into that plan. And all of the players that they have in that huge squad are very talented players. We know what they've done at other clubs and we know the potential that they have, particularly with some of the younger ones. So if Maresca comes in, he has a very, very strict plan. He's very ruthless with the players who he leaves out and the players that he wants. There is enough quality in that squad to be able to get a good unit of 11 to 14 players. Whether the disharmony that comes with that and the unhappiness of players who aren't playing will play a massive factor is obviously yet to be seen. But I just think when there's so much chaos going on, I can't see how that is a positive way to start a Premier League season.
I do wonder as well if Enzo Maresca has created a bit of a rod for his own back, because he publicly said the other day when he was asked about how much input he has in the decision making around transfers, he said, well, I'm the coach, of course I have some input. Well, the thing that Graham Potter was able to hide behind for so long was that he was being given players that he didn't necessarily want. Pochettino got a free ride in the first half of last season because everybody looked at it and went, well, look what they've given him to work with. In Enzo Maresca, though, you've got someone who's coming out and saying, well, I am involved in this process. I am involved in the decision making. So if it doesn't go well from the beginning, is there going to be more scrutiny on him? There probably is. And I don't think you want to put yourself in that position as Chelsea boss.